Bienvenidos, everybody. This is Jael DePardo with The Latin Dish, where we are discussing living life from our point of view. Hello, ladies.
Hello, Jael.
Please take a moment to introduce yourselves.
Hey, guys. So my name is Paloma Rodriguez.
And Susana Ballesteros.
Hi, guys. How you doing today?
I'm good. Can I just say that introduction always gets me ready? Por favor, salsa all day long,
little
okay?
vibe, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. We're here dancing.
Start shaking. Yeah. So, ladies, I want to ask you, have any of you ever done comedy, like stand-up comedian work?
Oh, my God.
Gosh.
Oh, that requires courage.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think I lack. I had to talk at my brother's wedding, and I wrote a speech which I thought it was funny, and I was terrified. It went well, but it was terrifying. That feeling,
One of my favorite things in life are comedians. I watch stand-up all the time. I stand up on Netflix. I'm obsessed with comedians. Robin Williams is one of my all-time favorites. So for me, like watching someone up there just kill it time-wise and just be hilarious, like that's a gift, and a gift that I do not have. So I will just, be in the audience.
I absolutely feel the same way. I feel like I have to hand it to people who can be naturally funny. And that is something that you, I think, have to have a natural knack for, because there's a specific timing that goes with that. And I don't have it.
And I have to say, I am the nightmare of comedy. My laugh is naturally silent. So imagine a room full of people like me. It will be like the nightmare of all comedians, right? It will be like, like the most sound, my sound is like,
Oh, no.
So that will be odd. Like you'll have to see the faces and because the sound won't work. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk more about comedy today. We have a guest in our studio. We're welcoming Natalie Holmes. She's a stand-up comedian, and she calls herself the showbiz darling as well.
That is correct.
Because
Welcome,
she is.
Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations, ladies, on your show. Living for it. Love that intro. Yes.
Oh, thank you,
Yes.
right? Let's go salsa dancing after
You couldn't
this.
see us, but I was just wiggling. I'm like, this is my show, but
Yeah,
wiggle,
you got
wiggle,
it,
wiggle.
baby. Yeah, so
So for people that can't see, your steez is adorable.
Okay.
I noticed it when you
marinate.
walked in, and also I kind of stalked you on Instagram. Like your style on stage is adorable.
Thank you. I
Like,
am a personal
Are
stylist
you
on the side.
okay?
So
Then that makes sense. You
it's
always look
another
incredible.
canvas. Clothes are another canvas.
Yeah, for
love
those
it.
that
Yeah.
are listening, obviously you cannot see Natalie, but she likes to wear colors that pop. So you gotta check out her stand-up comedy routines, because she
Yeah.
does wear very cute outfits.
yeah.
I
To
like
side
to call
Pitbull, you're sexy and you know it.
Yeah, girl.
I like to call it tacky chic. I think kind of like Bette Midler invented that line where you're like, what does she wear? Well, okay, that's cute. That's cute. Like I like to make people do a
Yes.
little double take of like, is it okay? We approve. I don't care if they do, but I like to mix and match.
Yeah, I love it.
Natalie, where did you grow up?
So originally, I'm from Lake Jackson, Texas, birthplace of Selena Quintanilla.
Hell.
My queen.
Como
My
la
queen.
flor.
Amor perdido. Okay, my Spanish is falling off, but I love her so much. So that's my birthplace. But then I moved to Austin, Texas as soon as I could, and I was part of their Austin comedy community for over a decade before moving to LA.
Oh, wow. What
Yeah.
was that like?
Amazing. I started off in a sketch comedy magic show called Esther's Folly. So we did sketch comedy. I got to do a little stand-up, and I was a magician's assistant. So I got sawed in half about 5 times a week. He's the only man who's ever put me back together. So.
Hey, girl.
But yeah, it was amazing. And they also owned the stand-up comedy club next door. So I would go see our show, and then I would go watch the open mics, and it was always one of those things where I was like, I want to do it. I've always been obsessed with stand-up. Like Paloma, I'm like, I love it. I'm so charmed by it. And it seemed so scary. And I thought, I want to be more well-rounded. I want to get up here and do it. And I started doing it. And I love stand-up comedy.
And of course, after being cut in half, what can go wrong?
I mean, how bad could it be? You know, like what's worse than being cut in half with a chainsaw?
What's worse? And later on, you're going to tell us like the secret behind that trick.
Of course.
As soon as the mic goes off,
Yeah.
we'll have a little chit chat.
Please.
But yeah, that's where I started, and there's a lot of open mic. The Austin comedy community is so strong, such a talented group of people, and I'm very glad to be part of it. And then the next step for me was to move to LA and keep pushing, you know?
Wait. So let's rewind for a second.
Let's go.
But before we get to LA, I want to know, like, so when did you first find out that you were funny?
When I was trying to keep bullies from hurting me.
Oh, girl.
In elementary school, I was like, full disclosure, I am an unusual person, whatever usual means. So I've always been like a little weird. When I was like 5 and 6, I was really obsessed with like the 1920s and 1930s, which is not what most 5-year-olds are into. And I'm Black. So people at my school were like, what is she? And so there was a lot of criticism. And I realized that if I could make them laugh, they would be nicer to me. And so I started kind of throwing, it was a lot of pop culture references. The Spice Girls were very in then. So I think I did some like Spice Girl roasts or whatever, but I could keep people laughing. And if I kept them laughing, they would be cooler to me. And so leaned in.
You said before that some of those mean girls were even licking the food.
Oh,
so
yes.
So was comedy kind of therapeutic for you?
Totally. Well, and it's just I've always felt that comedy was healing. You know, it is a form of medicine. And I think it's just way better for your own heart to see things that are happening to you and find the funny in them and live in that space rather than live in the negativity. Like, I taught bully prevention for a long time after because it did affect me. And you never know what's going on with somebody. And I'm not here to judge their experience, but I can take what I get from them and I can spin it and make it a positive. And even my saddest jokes on stage, like, because I'll talk about anything on stage, but I'm going to find the funny in it. I'm going to find the funny in losing someone you love. I'm going to find the funny in my divorce, you know, like, because it's healing. It's part of the process.
That's amazing. That's such a beautiful twist to do something because life is hard.
Life is heavy, man.
It's just heavy and hard. And the fact that you can do that, like,
bravo.
Gotta
laugh about
girl.
it. Thank you.
So these girls were bullying you and you twisted it around. You dodged some bullets. You made people laugh.
I dodged bullets. It was Texas. I dodged some bullets. No. Too soon.
Now, you were talking about some personal things, you know, and so I'm curious, when you're writing your jokes, do you I've noticed, I don't know if you ladies have also noticed that you watch a lot of comedians. They're very self-deprecating. Like, they make fun of themselves all day long. So when you write jokes, do you do that as well? Do you write jokes against yourself?
I really try to lean away from self-deprecation. Again, my thought is like, the world's going to hate on me. Why would I hate on me?
Right.
You know, like, I'm going to talk about my story, but I'm not going to come from a place of like, oh, I'm garbage. No, I'm real cute and I'm talented and I'm nice and I'm funny and I am one of God's children. And I'm going to talk about it, you know? And so, for me, it's like I can talk about something. For example, I do stand-up about my ex-husband and how he was kind of like a scrawny dude. And so rather than be like, oh, you know, like I lean towards like, oh, he defended me once, but it was in a fabric store, you know, like sort of like you find ways that it still jabs at us or what's going on, but it's also like there's nothing about that's going to make you think this person doesn't love themselves because I love myself very much.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I also just love comedy, but a lot of people do it, and if it works for them, it works for them. But I don't personally. My taste isn't to watch someone go up on stage and not care about themselves. You know, there's just there's a way to talk about the heavy stuff and just keep it funny. That's the whole point.
That's so cool. So like, who were your big influences? Because you like a certain type. I can tell you like a certain type of comedy, and I'm a huge comedy fan from like years ago till now. So I'm kind of wondering. You mentioned Bette Midler, and I'm like, we're friends.
Queen.
Yes. So queen. Who else did you grow up like idolizing or loving? Yeah.
Well, I talk about him all the time. One of my favorite performers in the entire universe is Dick Van Dyke.
Absolutely.
He has been a mentor. I don't know if you ever saw the Dick Van Dyke Show. It came out in the 60s, but it is timeless.
Wow.
He is his physicality, his timing, his song and dance styles. I saw him 2 years ago. I met him 2 years ago, and he did a pratfall off the stage. This man is 92 years old. He's a human noodle, and he's still working. You know, you have the Betty Whites, that sort of era of just like, how are they still working? Huge influences for me. Goodness, I'm so old-minded, but Phyllis Diller, which I don't know if people are familiar with. She was a comedian in the 60s.
Wow.
Moms
And
Mabley.
female.
Whoopi Goldberg and her one-woman show changed my entire
Gem.
young Black girl life.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a Black woman do something like that, and immediately I was like, oh, this is what I do.
Oh, and now that you say that, Natalie, have you noticed that this is like now we're watching this the Marvelous Mrs. Mason show?
It's so
Gosh,
good.
I love that show.
Is it a men's world?
Yes.
She answered that quick.
Always and forever. Yeah. Hopefully not. Yes, in comedy, it's so funny because there's this assumption that if you have a certain number of women on a show, like they're all going to talk about the same things because every woman's perspective is the same. And it's like, no. If we can have 8 white guys come up here and tell jokes, then why would you assume that the 2 POC women are going to have the same material?
Exactly.
You know, like it's silly. It's silly. But you do have to fight harder for your space. And also, you have to deal with the same things that, women always have to deal with in the workplace, except there's no HR department at a comedy club. So
oh, my goodness.
You kind of make your own HR department, and we protect each other. That's a big thing. Shout out to my lady comics, because there's a lot of communication within the community to let each other know, like, this is cool, this place isn't so cool, take care of each
amazing.
other. Yeah, sisterhood. Got to.
You have to protect each other.
And do you ever feel that you're expected to be funny when you're like with like friends or with like new people that you just meet?
It's I think it's natural to want to be funny, and what really fascinates me is when people that aren't comedians like want to be the funniest person in the room or like try to challenge you. And I'm like, if I'm not getting paid, I'm not working that hard for you. Like I'll throw out some quips because that's life, but you do feel an instinct to entertain, I suppose, especially once people know. But there's also that like we were talking earlier, like if you would never ask someone else to do their profession like casually for you. Like, oh, are you a singer? Sing something. Are you a comedian? Tell us a joke. Are you a plumber? Go plunge. Like you would never do that. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's only natural. And when you get a bunch of comics in a room together, like we all just start.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, sometimes you're just screaming to be heard.
Oh, I want to get invited to that.
But I would love
you do.
to be a fly on the wall for that, because it would just be, I'm sure, very funny.
Writers' rooms can be very interesting. Writers' rooms can be very interesting. Just like you're all weird, but everyone's so funny and just like, piggybacking.
So speaking of making your way, so you did a run in Austin, and then finally you made your way to Los Angeles.
Yes.
And what's that been like once you made that transition?
It has been amazing. I'm a big, I love a sign from the universe. That's my jam. Like,
same.
I'm always, my heart is open. Let me know. And so when I first got here, my first instinct was to go to UCB. Like that was a big goal for me. And since I've been there, I've been offered different scholarships. I've been given different opportunities. And then actually one of the women that offered me a scholarship to pursue comedy there works with a cast member from the Dick Van Dyke Show, like that played the little boy. So there's just these moments where I'm like, you're where you're supposed to be. You're where you're supposed to be. But so I've been pursuing a lot of sketch stuff at UCB and then doing stand-up as well, and just sort of seeing, like where I end up with it, chasing the dream, doing the hustle.
And I want to know how, so you prepare a script and you memorize it because they are long.
Right.
They're like an hour, or could be 20 minutes, could be 10 minutes, depending on. So how long does it take for you to write it? Then where do you test it with?
With jokes, it's tricky. Some people are very militant. Like, I need to write this many jokes a day. I'm not as militant about it. I find that a lot of jokes come out naturally or observation. I always have a spiral in my purse to make notes if I see something that cracks me up. I'm listening to Michelle Obama's Becoming right now, and I was like, man, that girl couldn't find middle C during her piano recital. Her life is so hard. And then I just started writing down, like, here's all the silly things from Michelle Obama's Becoming that like we aren't discussing, like you just sort of naturally comes out. And it comes in pieces. Like if you're trying to put together an hour special of new material, like I have a one-woman show. If I'm trying to put together a new one-woman show, it's in segments. I'll find like, oh, I have enough material about this. All right, well, that's enough talking about being Black in America, like what's going on over here, and sort of divide it out that way. But it kind of collectively comes together.
And then you test it with your friends, or
open mics you can test is a big one. That's what most people do, and you're a little more free to bomb at an open mic because people aren't expecting shiny, polished, and new. They're just like, all right, well, what are you working on? And then I also do like YouTube videos, and I don't know if I test on my friends. I kind of hate when people do that, when they casually throw in something they've been working on, like you're not in the middle of a real conversation. I'm like, I know you're working out jokes on me right now because you don't talk like that.
Oh my gosh.
So I like to do it in a professional setting, but open mics are a big one. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I have a girlfriend of mine who, she's honestly one of the funniest people that I know. I'm sorry. And last night she had her first open mic stand-up. Yes, right? I know, I'm so excited for her. And she killed it. She really did. But she told me before that she felt crippled with fear. And she's like, I feel like I'm not even breathing. Like, and I want this so bad. And I know I could do it. Yeah. So like, what advice would you have for someone that like really wants it really bad, but just feels like I'm going to pass out?
Mm-hmm. You will always be scared.
Okay.
The fear hasn't gone away for me. Once I start rolling, the fear goes away. And I would encourage you to ask your friend, like, how did she feel like once she got in it versus that initial? Because I mean, before I go on stage, I'm always like, oh, what if they hate me? Sort of thing. And then you kind of get over that hurdle. And I accepted a long time ago, like, I'm always going to be nervous. I'm always going to be scared. And
it's good, right?
It's
to have
natural.
That.
And I think it pushes you naturally want to push through it. Now, if you are so crippled by fear that you are like, okay, this might not be for you. Right. Public speaking ain't for everybody. But if it's something you're passionate about, like, push through, mama, push through.
I love that. Yeah. And I know she's listening, so she's going to love that response.
Girl, I'm so proud of you for chasing that dream. I don't know how many minutes you did, but I bet they was fierce. And I can't wait for you to do it again. Yes, ma'am.
And do you have any go-tos for when you like forget a line, and maybe you every time that happens, you like maybe sip a little bit of water, waiting for it to come back.
Tricks. I know the tricks.
Usually when I space out on a joke, I just sort of panic and smile quickly, and then try to go on to something else that I know is in my brain. There have been a couple of times where just like you get heckled or something, and then it's just in the moment. And that's where having an improv background also helps. Is like someone shouts something at me. Like I've taken a knee on stage a couple of times because I didn't like where the audience was going. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a black knee right now. I don't like what you said. So yeah, you just kind of have to be in the moment and be present with it. But it happens. And when it happens, honestly, like I write some of my best new jokes out of the panic of like, I don't remember what I was saying. All right, let's just talk about what's happening until you find your way.
So you just like make a joke on the fly, right there in the moment.
Like if you were driving, it was like, okay, I took the wrong exit. We're just going to loop it back around.
I love it.
We're still in the car, y'all. We're still in the car.
And that's the beauty of comedy.
That's where you find some of your best stuff. Yeah.
Natalie Holmes, thank you so much for joining us today on The Latin Dish. Stand-up comedian Natalie Holmes. That is so awesome learning about that industry. Like I said before, that's something I would feel terrified to do. So I gotta hand it to you, girl.
I appreciate it. Support comedy. Comedy.
Thank you all for listening to The Latin Dish, and we will see you on the next round.